Hello everyone! Today I want to share my thoughts on a new pencil set that I was offered to try and review. These are the Arrtx pencils, which I've been curious about for a while, especially as I've seen many positive comments about them. Until now, the largest pencil set I've owned was a set of 72 pencils, so getting the chance to try out a set of 126 pencils feels really special. What impressed me immediately was how compact and cleverly designed the box is. It's amazing how so many pencils fit into such a small organized space. Just to give you an idea, when I asked people around me how many pencils they thought were in the box, their guesses were 48 or 72, which shows how efficient this storage solution is. It's perfect for keeping on your desk and always within reach. That said, I did notice that it might not be easy to pull out pencils and find specific colors while coloring, so organizing them in advance is definitely helpful. To start, I arranged the pencils in an order that works for me and made a quick color swatch, which will make it much easier to find my way around the set. When I began testing the pencils, I noticed they're a bit harder than the ones I'm used to, but they produce vibrant and rich colors. They're comfortable to hold, and even though I tend to use a lot of pressure while coloring, these pencils don't require much effort to apply beautiful color. However, a few of the pencils felt slightly harder than others, and at one point it seemed like they might be scratching the surface a little. But I really want to test these pencils on an illustration in a coloring book to explore their potential and give you a full review of this lovely set. For this project, I chose one of my favorite books that I haven't worked on in a while, World of Wonders by Johanna Basford. Here are beautiful floating islands that stretch across both pages. It's perfect for creating a magical atmosphere. This island has a lot of intricate lines, so I'm going to apply a single thin layer of white acrylic gesso straight from the tube. I'll spread it evenly across the entire island. Normally, I don't prefer creating a base like this for such a large area, as it can sometimes make enhancing all the fine edges a bit challenging. However, slightly softer, blurred edges could work well here since this is a dreamy scene. Additionally, I want to test how these pencils perform both directly on paper and on an acrylic gesso base. Many colorists enjoy using mixed media in their work, so this will be a great opportunity to see how these pencils behave on different surfaces. A question I often get from colorists is how I choose colors for my pages. Honestly, it all depends on the mood I want the picture to convey. For this piece, I imagine a magical night filled with shiny, sparkling objects. When it comes to coloring fantasy night scenes, blue and purple are the first colors that come to mind. They're frequently used to evoke a sense of magic and wonder. Blue captures the essence of night, giving off a mystical and serene vibe that works beautifully for magical scenes. And purple, on the other hand, feels exotic and stimulating, evoking a sense of mystery and a bit of adventure, so together this combination of blue and purple creates a dreamy, almost hypnotic atmosphere, which is just perfect for a magical setting. Now that I've settled on my primary colors, I know that blue will dominate the scene, while purple will be used to highlight special details and add depth. To complement these shades, I'll incorporate lighter tones like white and silver to create the illusion of light in the darkness. I may also add a few neutral tones, perhaps soft beige, muted green, or pale pink that will blend seamlessly without distracting from the core colors. The second question I often get is where to start painting. For me, it's natural to begin with the main focal point, the part of the image I can already envision clearly in my mind, and then build the rest of the picture around it. If I were painting on my own, away from the camera, I might jump from one spot to another as inspiration strikes, but since I'm painting here on camera, I think it will be easier for you to follow along if I work in a more sequential order. For this page, I'll start with the background, the dark sky around the first island I want to color. The sky will serve as the foundation for the entire scene, helping me establish the mood and guiding the color choices for the rest of the elements. When painting night scenes, the colors I use on the islands will depend heavily on the hues and tones of the surrounding sky. I'll need to find the perfect combination to reflect how the light of the night interacts with the island. This way, the entire scene will feel balanced, bringing out the magical atmosphere I'm aiming for. As I start coloring with the darkest blue in the corner, I apply firm pressure where the color will stay. To achieve a smooth blend, I gradually ease the pressure as I approach the island and lighter areas, allowing room to layer other colors. I like to experiment with different pencils until I find the perfect shade. For this page, I wanted a deep, warm, dark blue, not too cold, and after testing several shades, I settled on peacock blue as the main color for the sky around the island, layering darker and lighter tones to create depth and contrast. Around the lighthouse, I'll add a little white to create a lighter base before applying blue. This helps with better control in those areas, and I will start lightly experiment with those colors and apply firmer pressure once I'm happy with the result. The pencil may leave a dark line where it touches the gesso, but don't worry about that. You can blend it out with a very light or white pencil or dab a bit of gesso over it again, and gradually the line will fade and nearly disappear. For areas where you want the sky to appear deep, dark, and far away, try adding a slightly cooler blue, such as French ultramarine. It will create a lovely contrast and add depth to the scene. This tree looks so beautiful that I want to highlight it right away, even though it's further away on the island. I'll paint it a soft purple or even pink, but since it's surrounded by the colors of the night, I'll add a touch of blue to the edges, just enough to make it look like the tree is glowing in a magical way. You don't need to add too much detail since it's in the distance. The color will highlight it perfectly, and simply follow the shape of the tree, coloring in light circular motions and blend until you achieve the desired effect. If pink doesn't feel right, some silver or light blue would also work beautifully. I'll position the light to come from the left side where the action will take place, with the lighthouse as the light source. Since the right side of the island is darker, I'll add black as the base of the tree to emphasize the shadows. You could probably erase this with an eraser, but I'll stick with using gesso to add a little more light on the tree. Once it dries, I'll brighten the area with some pink to create a shiny spot on the tops. Next, for the houses, I want to use a slightly different color, but still something neutral. These houses don't need much detail, so I'll focus on adding lights in the windows and smoke from the chimney to give the feeling that the island is alive, even from a distance. I'll use a bit of light pink, beige, and the same blue I used for the sky. I don't worry too much about precision here and sometimes even go outside the lines. Let's move on to the boat in the water. I'll start by coloring the water in lighter colors, adding a little sparkle later. Since it's a lighter area, I don't need to be too precise, though I may include a small reflection of the boat. For the boat, I'll use pink or light purple shades, or even white would be lovely, to help it stand out in the foreground. This scene has a cool color palette, but I often balance it with both warm and cool tones. The pink and light purple are warmer in this case and will contrast beautifully with the cooler green-blue hill in the background, making the boat pop. Next, I'll quickly paint the leaves in a greenish blue, slightly lighter than the hill, with lighter tips toward the light. For the lower part of the island, I'll need to improvise. If I were using mixed media, I'd likely combine acrylics and watercolors, but with pencils, I'll have to experiment. Johanna has drawn some shapes here, and we can use them to add depth. I'll keep it simple and go for rock cliffs. Since it's a night scene, this area will remain quite dark. I'm not focusing on the lower section of this page yet, but working with pencils allows for easy adjustments later. For now, I'll keep the lower part of the island dark, leaving only the tops in lighter colors to create the impression of illuminated rock cliffs. This draws minimal attention to the area, which will allow the cute little houses that I need to color to remain the focal point. First, I'm going to try to define the deepest parts, and then I'll focus on smaller sections to shape and refine the look of dark blue rocks. Now for the small houses. I want them to be a bit lighter, perhaps mostly white and pink, although I did go too dark in some areas at one point. They need to stand out nicely. With so much happening on the island, maintaining a good balance of dark and light tones is essential. The darker stones and hills provide contrast, and these structures, representing someone's presence, become a focal point. To make them pop, I'll use light tones like white, pink, beige, and even a touch of light blue in some spots. I've been experimenting with the Lighthouse colors and debating my approach. I started with a cooler yellow, but it felt a bit overwhelming and needed the vibrancy toned down. Still, the cool yellow serves as a good base for the light. When working with cool palettes, I like to add hints of warmth, just a touch of warm light here and there, like I did with the houses, because this fantasy page naturally feels like a warmer story to me, and even a small touch of warm colors can help set that mood. If you prefer a darker atmosphere or don't like the combination with subtle yellow shades, you can stick to white and surround it with light pink or soft blue tones instead. The island also needs its sparkle, so I'll add a bit of gesso to brighten it up and give it a subtle glow. I didn't notice my hand blocking the view while painting, but I hope the process is still visible. I'll paint a tree using the same colors as the first one, and the tops will appear bright from every side, Since the light isn't just coming from the lighthouse, I also plan to paint the balloon to make it look glowing. As for the leaves and smaller details, I won't focus too much on them. I'll quickly add some color so they don't stand out too much. Then we'll move on to the final section of this upper part of the page. We don't have a moon in this scene, and in my opinion, the moon adds a special magical touch. Here we have a beautiful hot air balloon, which I imagined would serve as a source of light, taking the moon's place. Since I'm aiming for a dreamy scene, I feel that the lines inside the balloon wouldn't quite fit the mood. Instead, I'll erase those lines and create the impression of a glowing moon. To achieve this, I'll use very light pinks and warmer tones, carefully rounding out the balloon to give it a soft, romantic feel. I'll leave a few millimeters of white around its edges to make it appear as though it's glowing brightly against the dark blue sky. This will tie together the upper section of this illustration beautifully. With that, we're approaching the end of this page, at least for now, so I can share more concrete thoughts about these Arrtx pencils. When it comes to Arrtx pencils, at first, when I was trying out these pencils, I thought they felt a bit harder. But now that I've colored a significant portion of this page, I can say that I didn't notice much difference compared to the more expensive pencils I usually use. Yes, they're slightly firmer than what I'm used to, but this doesn't impact the coloring process or the final appearance of the page. Normally, because of my coloring pressure and occasional issues with my right hand, prolonged use of pencil can cause discomfort, but that hasn't been the case with this at all. At least not for now. The colors remain vibrant and beautiful, and they layer and blend wonderfully. I'm very happy with the variety the set offers, especially the darker shades. Since I've never owned a larger set before, I can complain about the number or selection of colors, and honestly I didn't feel like I was missing anything while coloring. The packaging is nice and convenient if you like having the pencils close at hand. However, there's a small issue when it comes to selecting the right colors. It's difficult to see them properly unless you've prepared them beforehand. As someone who switches between pencils frequently, I found myself leaving them scattered on my desk because I didn't feel like putting them back in the box every time. I haven't encountered any issues with breakage or sharpening so far. Everything has worked really well. Considering the price of this 126 pencil set, I'm more than satisfied with what they offer. If you're looking for a larger set for coloring in adult coloring books, I can definitely recommend these pencils. I'll definitely keep using these pencils, and I absolutely plan to continue working on this page and recording the rest of the process. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a like or leave a comment. It truly helps me dedicate more time to creating tutorials for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.